day 10 of Wimbledon, the Controllables live stream. I'm no longer at Wimbledon. Anyone watching this live will see some tired eyes. I say this all the time. Tennis tennis facilities and tournaments around the world and airports are two of the saddest places in the world because every day half of the draw disintegrates and goes out, and you see the emotion in the gym, you see the emotion after the match. And last night Gabby Dabrowski and Erin Routliffe lost in a great doubles match, fantastic doubles match. Anyone that had the opportunity to be on court one late last night or watching that match on TV against Kudermetova and Mertens, and a tip of the hat to Kudermetova and Mertens on a brilliant performance. Was really happy and pleased with the performance that Gabby and Erin put in. Lost 7-5, 7-6, a break up both sets. Real, like I say, real high quality. And but then you have this natural emotion after those matches. It's the way that it is. It's very intense. These players are going out there playing in front of thousands of people on TV. There's so many people that follow them closely, family, friends, fans, and there's a lot of weight to carry. So that emotion comes out afterwards. We ended up, having talks, as often happens after these matches, till quite late into the night. But ultimately, from our perspective, very happy with the sustainable success that Gabby and Erin have put together. That's now 8 major events that they've played over the last 2 years together in their partnership, and they've gone, I believe it's win semis, final, quarters, win semis, quarters. And they've shown that they have found a sustainable success. If you're putting yourself into those positions, it's a real privilege to actually feel that hurt. It means that you're doing something very meaningful, and it's certainly with great pride and privilege that I have been able to play a small role within that as well. So my Wimbledon 2025 is over from that perspective. In terms of bringing these to you, the plan is still now to bring you a daily podcast, and we can talk through what has gone on each day as well. Today I am going to have Candy Reid joining me shortly, and which is going to be great because today I've not seen a lot of the tennis. We drove to my wife's mum's house in Birmingham. London traffic, not so easy. And then I found myself just crashing out once we got here. So I have seen a little bit. I've just seen the end of the Djokovic match. I know he just had a real fall there, heart and mouth stuff at the end of that match. But to take out Kaboli, who has put in a fantastic Wimbledon. I saw Kaboli last year in Eastbourne, and I want to say it was Billy Harris. But I know that he lost to a British player in qualifying. And I remember thinking, well, that's quite a good draw to play him on the grass courts. You can rush his forehand. And that just goes to show actually how these players take time. We heard Jack Draper saying it last week as well. He's not that experienced on the grass courts yet. He hasn't played much on grass. People might assume that if you're British, you play on grass all the time, but the Brits aren't too different to the rest of the world now. You're not playing on grass growing up. You then only have a 3-4 week max period where you're playing, and if you don't get many matches in that period, then you don't play again for another 12 months or 11 months. So to kind of build that experience. And I think Kaboli has obviously adjusted very well because he was a little bit like a fish out of water last year. Put in a good performance. Obviously, that was the Jack Draper section of the draw. But Novak Djokovic goes marching on. And, I've said it a few times the last 10 days. He was my pick at the start of the tournament. I'm not changing that. It is going to be difficult because I do believe now he has to beat a Yannick Sinner and he has to beat a Carlos Alcaraz. Sorry, Taylor Fritz. I know you might absolutely have a say in that, but I think it's going to be, the tough way through. we saw Yannick Sinner today. Ben Shelton once again came across one of the big two at this sort of stage of a Grand Slam. Had some opportunities in the first set. Isn't quite ready to go over the line, I don't think, against those players. There was a lot of talk: is Sinner going to play? We saw him heavily strapped on his elbow. We heard that he'd had an MRI yesterday, but I think the medical teams are so good these days that these top players, unless literally something's broken, it feels like they're able, whether it's through pain meds, and then obviously through just really good physio, chiropractors, all of these different people that they travel with, they can patch them up. So I fully expect that Yannick Sinner will be good to go on Friday as he takes on Novak Djokovic in that semi-final. I'm going to wait till Candy comes on before we give our predictions on that, on how that match is going to go and what we need to look for, and we have an exciting Friday ahead for sure with the men's singles semi-finals. But we also have an exciting Thursday, which is tomorrow, and a massive shout out to all of the mums out there. Let me hear you, all of the mums out there right now. Mum power. 14, 15 months ago, Belinda Bencic gave birth to her first child, and here she is in the semi-finals of Wimbledon. Absolutely incredible. A shout out to Ian Hughes, the British tennis coach, who has been working with Belinda over the last 12 months or so. I just think it's an incredible story. She's come back. She probably was in the shadows a little bit of Federer, right? Over the years, and also Wawrinka. But we saw her when she was younger. We saw her playing mixed doubles with Federer at the Hopman Cup. Someone who always has played to a good level, but she's come back from maternity leave, and she's had a fantastic 12 months. I did speak to Ian after her last 16 match, where I know she was serving for the match at 5-3, and he said she couldn't get the ball out of her hand as she was throwing the ball up. Now, I didn't see the match today, but this is perfect timing because I have someone that did. Candy, welcome. And can you hear me this time?
Hi, Dan. Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. This is good news.
It is really good news. I'm just talking about the amazing Belinda Bencic.
Yes.
Gave birth 14, 15 months ago now. A shout out to you and all of the mums out there, that are able to, go through that, and then back, and it feels like she's come back even stronger.
Yeah.
Tell me about the match today. A tight one. I think most people would have had Andreeva down for that one.
Yeah.
And how did she close it out? Because I know, I was just saying, Ian Hughes had told me the round before, when she served for the match, that ball was struggling to get out of her hand, and she lost her serve, but then broke to win the match. So how did she handle the nerves going from quarterfinals? Her second Grand Slam semi-final. She 2019 US Open, I think she made the quarter semi-finals. Talk to us about that one today.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I'd just actually been to the Belinda Bencic press conference, and she spoke about the difficulties of serving it out last time. She was serving for it this time, up a set in 5-4 against Mira Andreeva, got broken for the first time. Now, if you know Belinda Bencic, and I've done quite a lot of her matches, you'll know that she returns really well. She breaks opponents a lot, but the serve is a bit of a liability because, I don't know about you, but the technique to me is a little bit dodgy of Bencic, so she's not able to create a huge amount of pace. But what she did today, I thought brilliantly. It was an amazing masterclass strategy. What's the word?
Strategy.
Yeah, strategy. Tactically, I think is the word. She just got it all together. But she was just slicing the ball, hitting her corners. Her first serve percentage was up in the high 70s. She won almost 3/4 of first serve points, just over half behind her second serve. For Belinda Bencic, that's outrageously good. So she was keeping the ball really low, Andreeva. Andreeva was having to chip the ball back. And then Belinda Bencic was staying really close to the baseline. Did get a little bit nervous, like I said, serving for it in the second set, 5-4. But then got it done. Really two strong tiebreakers in both she went up 3 points to 1 and then just stayed in front, stayed in control. She stayed so passive as well because Bencic We've seen in the past, Dan, you would have seen this as well, very emotional, up and down, gets upset with herself, but today kept it really in check. I thought it was just a brilliant performance from a player who's 10 years older than her opponent, one of huge maturity. I think after having Bella, she's put her life a bit more in perspective, the wins and the losses, the ups and the downs. And to me, it was just a brilliant performance. And I think the tactics they got were just right. And I know that Ian Hughes was part of that.
And on the other side, Candy, Mira is someone I think there's no doubt she's going to be at the top of the game for a long time, right? But the first thing that brings a smile to my face is, and we have to talk about this, is her supporting her coach Conchita Martinez yesterday, which was just the cutest thing I've ever seen. Like it was just unbelievable. Anyone that hasn't seen it, go and watch it. She made the sign. The sign was up for her. She was cheering her on after every point. And that seems like such a lovely, lovely relationship. Yeah. But it does seem like maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. The bigger matches that she's had at this stage of Grand Slams, she hasn't quite got it together just yet.
I think she's on the verge. I really do. I think her game is developing all the time. I remember when she was 16 in, I think it was Madrid, when she beat Magdalene on her 16th birthday. She followed it up with a win over Leilani Fernandez. Then she beat Beatrice Haddad-Maia, back to back to back, 3 top 20 wins at the age of 16. Now she's 18. I think she's filled out a lot. I think her game is magnificent because she's got the power, not quite of Sabalenka, but it's a big game. But she's also got the intricacies. She's got the nuances that you can see Conchita Martinez has put in. Whereas she's coming to the net a lot. She's adding a lot of slice. She's throwing in the drop shot, the high loopy topspin ball. I really like her game. I think it's going to develop even further. She's definitely got major titles in her future. I actually picked her to win Roland Garros. I thought she could win here. She's been pipped at the post at the quarterfinal stage, but she's just consistently knocking on the door. She's won a 1,000 level already this year. She's beaten top players. And I think emotionally, she was more stable today. Last year in Ningbo in the final, if you go back and watch that against Daria Kasatkina, she was just emotionally all over the place at 17. So I think that part of her game is coming together. And I think in some ways, a little bit like Raducanu, Dan, winning the US Open so early, I think actually it's not a bad thing for Andreeva not to win these ones just yet. So she doesn't get that massive pressure and that huge target on her back. She's still got to develop a few things, but I think it's just coming. And I think you're right. We actually went to the invitational pre-match press conference yesterday. Conchita Martinez was there. So we spoke to Conchi. And I read a story on it for the Wimbledon website about what a great relationship these two have got. There's so much humor, enjoyment between them. Obviously, Martinez is working very, very hard indeed. Andreeva, I think, wants it. She wouldn't want that kind of nice coach. Oh, well done. You almost won. She doesn't want that. That's not the world she's come from. It's a hard world. But they found a really good balance. They're really seeking fun, having a great time. Andreeva was there with the hot topspin senorita, wasn't she? Because that's how Conchita was known. She is a Wimbledon champion, Conchita. She's got everything in the ingredients. It's just a matter of time, Dan.
I agree. And you talking there about the emotions, that was going to be what I asked, because last year, actually, my girls, Gabby and Erin, played her first round in doubles. And I remember following her singles match, whether it was her first round or second round, out on court 12.
Yes.
And I was doing a bit of scouting, or maybe they were playing that day or whatever it was. And she had a full breakdown there as well. We saw it a little bit quarterfinals of Roland Garros as well, playing Boisson. I think everyone kind of felt that was a match that she'd come through,
Yes.
But yeah, I have no doubt the tennis is there. I agree with you. It feels like it's a natural evolution, and I always talk about sustainable success, and I just mentioned that about Gabby and Erin before you came on. That's the aim. The aim's sustainable success. The aim's not to have just one-off unbelievable, successful event. And if you look at her results, she's already got sustainable success. She's putting herself in those positions. She lost to Sabalenka in the fourth round Australian Open. She beat her, I believe, in the final in Dubai, maybe. So she beat her in the final somewhere. It was 1,000. So she's shown she can compete at the highest level. Quarterfinals Roland Garros, quarterfinals Wimbledon, and I'm sure we're going to see lots more of her. But Belinda Bencic now plays Iga Swiatek, who, the number 8 seed. So we don't talk about Iga since she's become the number 8 seed. But she's just gone through pretty easy, taking care of business. I thought the last round against Towson was an impressive win to win. I know Towson maybe wasn't 100%, but to win without much fuss. And then how was that match today?
That was a good match. Actually, I was speaking to Andrea Petkovic yesterday, who's become a good friend since retirement because I've worked quite a lot with her in commentary. And she said she was in Bad Homburg, which Iga got to the final, lost to Jessie Pegula. And she said to herself at that point, I think Iga's going to win Wimbledon for the first time, because she felt like she was just playing really loosely and enjoying her tennis. I'm just looking at results for Iga. Hasn't won a title this season, which is just mind-blowing, but she has won 40 matches out of 51 total. So here at Wimbledon, she's beaten Polina Kudermetova, Katie McNally, Danielle Collins 2 and 3, took out Clara Towson, who I think was sick the night before, but she beat her 4 and 1. And then today, 2 and 5 over Samsonova. Samsonova causes people issues because of the way she hits the ball, particularly on her serve and forehand. If those two shots are working, she's so tough to beat. And it's a player in the past that Swiatek has struggled with, the big hitters. It's amazing. Swiatek, a junior champion here. She's just gone so much under the radar, but she just looks like she's a little looser than she has been in the past. I thought maybe her and Wim Fissette would have split up by now, given that she hasn't won titles, but she's obviously stuck with the Belgian coach. She believes in herself, and perhaps we're going to see her win her first Wimbledon title. It'd be amazing if she did, given her year.
Yeah, it would. Actually, I think Wim, I saw an interview with Wim yesterday saying that their relationship is stronger than ever. Now,
Amazing.
whether that's for the public or whether he's trying to manifest, but it seems to me with Iga, she's just had a little mini reset. It feels like, and we talk about this with tennis players all the time, sometimes like Raducanu, who's obviously had a bigger one, going from Grand Slam champion to dropping all the way down. But she just seems to have had a little mini reset. They've obviously sat down together as a team, and it feels like she's absolutely back on track. So who wins that semi-final tomorrow then? Come on then, Bencic or Swiatek?
I think Swiatek will win it, and I think the reason is they haven't met for 2 years. It's Iga 3-1 in the head-to-head, one meeting on grass 2 years ago at Wimbledon. Iga won that in 3. I think this is a matchup that Swiatek likes because she's not bothered by the Bencic game. It's the power of the Sabalenka type keys style that can upend Iga. I don't think she'll be bothered. And Ostapenko, exactly, perfect.
And actually, I think not just I don't think it's the tennis for sure, the power, but I also think it's the assertive nature, of and obviously Bencic doesn't really have that either. Like Ostapenko's coming in there and she's in Iga's face. She's causing almost a bit of, she's kind of out egoing her in some ways. There's a bit of intimidation factor. Whereas I would say one of the least intimidating players out there is Belinda Bencic.
She has her way, though. I mean, she can give opponents quite a big stare. Bencic is now 28. She's been around the block. And Dan, more than anybody else, that in tennis, particularly in the women's game, there is a lot of stuff that goes on off the ball, so to speak. I love that. I'm a big football fan, as are you. But you're always watching players off the ball. That's almost more interesting than the ones that have control. And just those little moments where players give each other a little look, or they're just concentrating on something else. I think Bencic's really astute. I think she's a very, very intelligent player. And if she can sort of needle an opponent in a little way, shape or form, she will. But I think they're all at it. So there'll be some of that, there's no doubt. I just think that Iga will come through that one. I think Bencic's tournament will probably end against Swiatek tomorrow.
And then in the other semi-final tomorrow, we've got Arina Sabalenka, who has come through all sorts of challenging matches. I mean, I think that the draw that we saw wasn't so kind to her.
So
We then
tough.
we then
Yeah.
saw her playing Siegmund in the quarters and thought, well, actually, maybe that's a bit of an easier one. But actually, that's gone and caused her probably more problems.
Yeah.
I mean, Siegmund was what 4-2 up
Yes.
serving for the
Yeah.
3-2 up, points for 4-2, back to 3-all, 4-3 up, points for 5-3. You know, you're getting very close to losing a tennis match at that stage.
Yeah.
She's come through that. She's then playing against the one that I've called for dark horse for many years. I maybe can't be calling her a dark horse anymore. And Nissimova, who hits the ball probably cleaner than anybody
Yeah.
on the women's tour. We followed her yesterday. The girls were on court.
I'm not sure
one
that's allowed, Dan, but
as a dark horse, not anymore, maybe.
no, just following her. I don't think that's allowed. I think you've got a restraining order, haven't you?
Yeah, well, I'm not going to go down that route, Candy, but to go on court after her yesterday wasn't easy because she was a set and 5-1 or 5-2 up, and you thought, right, here we go, we're on in 5 minutes. Then she found herself 6-2 down in the tiebreak, and it was highly emotional. We saw straight as we were walking on the court, she was coming off. She was just delighted, and she seems like she's a lovely girl. You know, she enjoys her life outside of tennis as well. She's managed to get a nice balance.
Yes.
I wonder if she is satisfied with her Wimbledon going up against Arina Sabalenka tomorrow, or does she play freely tomorrow and swing from the hip? And if she does, Sabalenka could be in some problems as well.
I think she'll swing from the hip, Anisimova. I actually did her match for Wimbledon Radio against Linda Noskova. That was really, really high quality match. And Anisimova just looks like she believes at the big moments now. As you said, she's had that mental health reset. I think she's got a really good team around her with Rick Vleeshouwers, the Dutch coach, in her corner. She hits the ball unbelievably well. She's kind of like, I think it's a bit like Sinner. When you hear Anisimova practice, you can hear her before you see her. It's that crack of the whip when she catches the ball. She's really put a lot of emphasis into her movement. So she looks like she's moving freely. I think I'll give the edge to Sabalenka because she's a champion. And the big moments, she seems to find a way. I thought she was in big trouble against Sigerman, who's such a disrupting player, isn't she? The 37-year-old from Germany. She has that kind of game that can really niggle Sabalenka by taking the pace off, adding this kind of rubbish tennis. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way because she had to play that. She couldn't try and battle Sabalenka from the baseline. She had to throw in a lot of garbage and try and unsettle the world number one. And she did that really. Anisimova is going to be more of a regular game style for Sabalenka, one she likes because she'll enjoy that Anisimova ball. But yeah, credit to Amanda, who got to the final of Queens, lost to another disruptor in Tatiana Maria final there. I think Anisimova is worthy of her live world number 8 ranking. First time she's in the top 10. But I think she will also be upended by the best in the world right now.
Gabby said to me after that match, after the Sigma match, he said, "I think I could make a comeback in singles if this is the way that it's going." You know, when watching some of those big hitters, I think they think no way. And that's one question that's just come through. How is the team doing following yesterday's quarterfinal loss? I guess that one's to me rather than to you. I spoke a little bit at the start. Yeah, they're doing okay. You know, I think at the end of the day. And this is I haven't actually talked about this on the pod because the last thing I wanted to do is jump in and say, oh, injuries. I hate it when people do that. Gabby held up unbelievably well injury wise when she's had 3 fractured ribs about 8 weeks ago. So that in itself is almost a miracle that she played, and not only did she play, she was fully healthy playing. So she was in a really, really good place. So obvious disappointment. The girls are big competitors. You know, they want to be winning these events. But I talked about this at the start of the show. That's 8 major events where they've gone win semis, final, quarters, win, semis, quarters, you know, so talk about sustainable success. And that's where the conversations ended up after a little bit of emotion for a couple of hours. The conversations ended up in what a fantastic 2 years it's been. And now how do we get better? and just coming across the better players in the world in singles on a doubles court. That for me is the slight difference right now. Those singles players are ready. They're not going to get tired. They're driving up to every serve. They move in behind the returns a little bit better. They're used to the kind of mental, emotional energy that happens all the time, back to back. And the girls have got to continue getting better. But if they keep putting themselves in positions of quarterfinals and semi-finals and finals of these events, then they'll also have plenty go their way as well.
Well, they're champions. You've done a great job with them, and you're right. The level of consistency is just remarkable, and the fact that they're a team and united. I actually spoke to Marcel Granollers and Horatio Zabayas, who beat Skupski and Salisbury today, and just asked them about the longevity of their relationship, because there must have been times where they thought, we can't win a major with each other, we're going to have to split. And Zabayas actually made a joke. He said, yes, I was thinking that, but I just didn't tell him. But the fact that they've stuck together and now they've won Roland Garros, they're on a 10-match winning run overall. I mean, it's just incredible, and it speaks a lot to their characters, that they're willing to go into battle together, regardless of the disappointments that you're inevitably going to have. And the nice thing about tennis is there's another tournament right around the corner. They've got another Grand Slam, haven't they, the girls, to try and win the US Open. So good luck to them.
Absolutely.
And Gabby is just, she should write a book, because the stuff she's been through, the hardships and the resilience that she shows is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, it is. It's a real, like I said to them today, it's a privilege and an honor to play a small role within that team. There's a lot of very special things that they've pushed through, and now, touch wood, 6 months of health, getting on that practice court, getting those reps in, and moving into the doubles. It's been a great doubles event for me, and if we start on the men's side, you mentioned there the Salisbury Skupski match, but I have to jump to the other quarterfinal today, which was actually a one that is a very special one for me to watch, because I coached Lloyd Glasspool for 20 years, and I also coached Glasspool and Heliovara together. So to see them, they had a little bit of a thing that happened at Queen's. In when they played in the semi-finals. They're both highly competitive individuals. There was a few words spoken. I know that they've handled that very well afterwards. But today, Lloyd and Julian Cash found themselves 6-5, 40-love down in the doubles, triple match point. They now move, I think, to 15-1 or 16-1 on the grass courts. Winning matches, there's nothing better than winning matches in terms of confidence in those moments, and that is a great opportunity now. Their first Grand Slam semi-final. Lloyd texted me afterwards and said, finally I can get some tickets.
I got an extra day
to get on a bigger court, because I think when you're on these smaller courts you don't get so many tickets. But what I want to ask you about on that actually is, and I was trying to work it out quickly before you came on, is how many it feels there's been a lot of 7-6 in the thirds in the men's doubles. And one thing that certainly my team, Mektic and Venus, they went out 7-6 in the third. It's to me seems like a great and subtle addition that was made in Grand Slams by adding this 6-all match tiebreak. And it brings a certain drama. We had it with Sonego the other day in Nakashima on court 14, when the whole of Wimbledon seemed to be transcending on that court. What's your take on this match tiebreak at 6-all in the third or the fifth, and how that's enhanced or not enhanced our sport?
I just think it's the only way, isn't it? I think the matches would be far too long, and we've got to find a way in tennis to shorten everything up. And so there's no other choice, unless they start going to fast four and doing it that way, which might be the way we play in the end. But I don't think there's any alternative. I don't see an alternative. I don't know if you do, but I think we need to find a way to compress everything and keep it so it's really exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're the first to jump on these governing bodies when they do something we don't like. I think on that one it was a subtle change.
Yeah.
But I think it's like the drama that it's brought on many occasions. I like it much more than a 7-point tiebreak. I think that's almost too. I think that's almost too quick.
Dan, I can't hear you, I'm afraid.
Can you hear me?
Oh, now I can hear you. Yes.
There you go. Yeah. So there we
We're
go.
back.
This is when we show that it's truly live, authentic.
When there's a big cock up.
Live. But yeah, I like the addition. I was hoping I was going to see the old British semi-finals in the doubles, but obviously Controllables to the Bios, a great pair and good guys. Then in the other half, we've got Aravello Pavic, who also won a 7-6 in the third round against Banbury and Galloway, and they play against the alternates, Hitchy, Carter, and Pell.
That's right.
And that's again not necessarily a story many people. If we had an alternate in the singles, we'd all be singing from the rooftops. Now Hitchy Carter did win Australian Open back in 2022, so we're not talking. Yes, exactly. But we've got those, and I'm gonna say Glasspool Cash against Aravello Pavic for the final, which I think would be an unbelievable final, and I know it would be a very special moment for lots of people if my money is on Lloyd Glasspool to get his first Grand Slam alongside Julian Cash.
It's a great story, isn't it? I actually don't know Lloyd very well. I spoke to him very briefly in Basel a couple of years ago because he was looking for a partner. But Julian Cash is a great story. I met him for the first time. I think it was 3 years ago at the Australian Open. He was playing with Henry Patton. And at the time, they were kind of needing sponsors. They didn't have any equipment granted to them. They were kind of on the periphery, not making much money and thinking, are we going to continue? Then they split up, joined forces with Harry and Henry's case and with Lloyd and Julian's case. And they've just gone from strength to strength. And of course, Henry won Wimbledon last year for the first time. And Julian is in the chance with winning Wimbledon this year. So what a sort of rags to riches story for both guys who just seem really genuinely nice people. I really love the doubles players. I just think they're all so friendly and lovely. And of course, they don't have the management, do they, or the agents sort of, trying to keep them away from everybody. So they're able to have a big personality and get to know the media really well. So all credit to those guys. They've been phenomenal.